separate, explicitly for those FinCEN records, and Besson's already stonewalled oversight subpoenas despite the EO. A judge might buy the linkage if framed as EO-enabled sharing, but Treasury's jurisdiction over SARs, Bank Secrecy Act, trumps. Past suits like Wyden's probes got partial wins, but no full dump without legislation. Odds, 40% success without Petra attached. Confidence 70%, based on EO text, bill scopes, and 2 Wyden refusal logs. Better bet, push Senate riders.
So it's a plan B. I mean, it's a Hail Mary if nothing else. If they try to stonewall Wyden's legislation, we could potentially use, if we're aggressive enough, we could potentially use Trump's own EO to release the financial Epstein files. I'm just saying it's an avenue, it's an idea. Go ahead, Anand.
So I guess what I was going to ask too is like, I understand why you want to like redact victims' names because you don't want to embarrass them, but it seems like most of them came forward, and they shouldn't be embarrassed. First of all, they're survivors, but they came forward. So when I'm saying
30 out of 1,000 have come forward.
Okay, well, shit, fuck me. Okay, but so
it's daytime television. Watch
my bad, Diligent. So I guess what I'm saying is like, Sixth Amendment, we do have our exceptions, but I think that we do have to have the names out there so that we can verify and we can like match up with the evidence. And that's all I'm saying right there. I understand it's very difficult, but I think that we should not redact names from this because of like how sensitive it is to everything, to our state security, to potential.
Literally nobody wants to put victims' names out there.
It's a very sensitive issue because whenever you have been a victim of sexual assault, it's one thing to carry that around with you forever. It is a completely other thing for someone else to tell your story of what happened to you and the disgusting and filthy things. And there is also a thing about survivors where a lot of them do carry shame. And even though that shame shouldn't be put on them, but because it happened to them as a child and their maturity level at that time.
The Victims' Rights Act protects.
Yeah.
It's not something you want to push.
I hear what you're saying right there, Nazi, but I want to say though, like we can't just do a full document release because if I'm an investigator, correct?
It's illegal. It doesn't matter.
I know. What diligent? What I'm saying though is if I'm an investigator, like I'm going to go through everything. And we're going to sit there and like be like, okay, this doesn't match up, this matches up, this doesn't match up. So what I'm saying is like we shouldn't do a full document release if we're redacting names because they can't sit there and point at something that has been disproven.
No, because that's not the point of it. The point of releasing the documents isn't for us to decide who's guilty or not. For us, it is to be able to see the names of the people who did it, find the money trail of who did it. The victims don't matter in this. We're not prosecuting the victims, but if we can see that
this person, because they deserve justice,
right? But if this person violated or sexually abused a child, regardless of any child out there, they should be held accountable. And then that is the pressure that we put on the DOJ to then prosecute that person, and they can contact that victim, and that victim can testify or do whatever she needs to do in the court case. But that's not
I
our
agree with
position.
you on that though. But no, so I agree with you that. But like, there's a lot that goes into that. So like, you're telling me that there's not like, you follow a lead in terms.
You can prosecute Jane Doe cases on rapes and child molestations, and it's done in courts everywhere all of the time. They just say Jane Doe. Now, if Jane Doe says, I want you to subpoena me, I want to testify against him, that is her choice, and she has to sign a few documents for prosecutors to be able to do this. But I am tired of you talking about this because it's a non-issue.
So my argument against you would be like this. It's not a non-issue because we do have a requirement of evidence because
prosecutors. We're not the prosecutors. We're not trying to pretend to be the prosecutors.
But that's what I'm saying though. But there's so many documents that go into a court case. And then a lot of times too, like there's fake allegations, there's fake all kinds of stuff.
I can't bring anybody up, Nazi, if you can do that.
All right.
Yeah, and witness testimony is corroborated through physical evidence or digital evidence, right? They don't just take people at their words. has to be substantiated and corroborated through other evidence.
I mean, I don't know.
And they go through a hold on. They go through a rigorous vetting process, right? The DOJ itself, right? Not me, not some random internet sleuth, right? The DOJ itself admitted there was over 1,000 victims, and that's always the tip of the iceberg in these cases. If there's 1,000 victims that we know of, there's probably an order more that we don't know of, right? So it doesn't matter. The financial transactions can be corroborated through Jeffrey Epstein's own email and communications, right? For example, we have video and pictures of the prints with one of these victims, coupled with her testimony, used in court to sue the Epstein estate and these other financial institutions that were settled or found guilty as a result. We don't need to make victims further into pariahs.
That's not diligent. That's not what I'm saying.
So we have to release the victims' names so that they can get targeted more. Otherwise, we can't have the files. It's a ridiculous.
Can I just add this before you kick me? All right, let me just add this. Is I do feel like,
I'm not kicking you, bro.
Okay, but I feel like we do have due diligence to make sure that they're not getting Brent Kavanaugh or they're not getting Clarence Thomas. Okay, like there has to actually.
What does that mean, bro? What does that actually mean? That has nothing to do with the Epstein case.
No, are you serious? Like there's going to be names released. I'm saying is that I hope that there's due diligence to make sure that they're not going to get Brent Kavanaugh, where it's this allegation that's like this kind of seems
iffy. Was Brent Kavanaugh arrested?
Was he slandered? Was Clarence Thomas? Was he
arrested? Did he actually get appointed?
Diligent. So if there's actual evidence that any of these people did it, what's the evidence to arrest those motherfuckers?
The results say that they weren't found to be guilty and that they were appointed anyways, even though they dealt with accusations in the interim. But we do results here, not just perception. So, if perception was created, but the results speak for themselves. They're still serving in the roles to which they were appointed. They never saw any jail time, right? They never settled any lawsuits that I know of, right? So, what's the concern here?
Well, so the concern is this, though, because if you talk to a lot of people, that are Democrats, they think that Clarence Thomas actually was guilty of what he did. And same with Brett Kavanaugh.
Who cares? They're allowed to think what they want. We don't control it.
But not only that, and you brought this up the other day, and I said the same thing to you. We had Jess Staley named on the floor by Thomas Massey. Nobody's going after Jess Staley. We have known Trump's name was in those files for a long time. We have known Les Wexner's name. We have known Leon Black's name. Somebody that was named in those files is now the president of the United States. If it's not there, if they didn't do anything, then nothing will happen of it. It's just their name in a file and they were innocent. There's no need to shield it because if they're innocent, then their innocence shields them. But we don't say that we're going to vilify or expose the victims in this case just to
protect them. It's such a ridiculous argument to have. I don't even know why we're debating it. It's illegal. It doesn't even matter. It's illegal. The Crime Victims' Rights Act forbids us from disclosing victims' names without their consent. That's all there is.
Fair enough.
You don't need to have a debate on it. The legislation's on the books. It's been on the books since the 90s, and we're not going to overturn it just so that you can keep from putting out the Epstein files. It's retarded.
Well, and I think that's the point that he was trying to make is that we don't need to release the names of the other people that could have done it without naming victims too, and that's
they're not victims.
They're not victims. They're not protected by law.
It's fair enough. You know what? Actually, fair enough. Stupid question.
Thank you. We're gonna keep moving. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm a little aggressive. Let's go to Miss Lou. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I want to say that this is the sword of Damocles for the deep state. And like most swords, it has two edges. One, the people are getting together emotionally on the fact of child pedophilia, which no one wants, which makes this a total bipartisan effort to stop this, which is 100%. The other side of this, as Maine brought up, and I also brought up last night, is the money laundering international cabal side of it, where the Treasury has to cough up information. And I agree with you, Maine, they need to do an addendum to get that forward in the Senate, because if we let that go, okay, if we let that go, then we it's like leaving a huge chunk of this whole effort out of the pile. That is the part, by the way, that our government, with international partners, is going to try and protect the most. Now, my hope going forward, and I don't think Trump will do I'm glad Maine explained the pocket veto and everything. I don't think he's going to do it, because I think he's on his last patience with this in terms of, splitting his base. So I think he's going to go ahead and let it go forward. But here's the thing. If we don't get to the financial aspect of it, again, we don't bring down the whole ship, and it all has to come down, all of it. So my hope going forward is that we get a few of these guys arrested.
Real quick, I want to interject right there. Maine, is there bipartisan support for Senator Wyden's bill at all in the Senate? Maine, are you there? I'm curious.
I think
let's see if Grok, is there bipartisan support for the Petra Act at all? Of Republican senators, or that any of them come forward? I imagine Rand Paul is probably on there. Go ahead, Grok, and then I'll go back to Ms. Florida.
I think Josh Hawley was too.
No Republican senators have publicly come forward with bipartisan support or co-sponsorship for Wyden's Petra Act. S-2746 yet. It's still Wyden solo. Introduced September 10th, 2025, per Congress.gov. That said, Rand Paul's a likely ally. He's pushed similar transparency probes on Epstein finances in past hearings, and his office echoed Wyden's follow the money line in a July floor response without endorsing the bill. Hawley? Zilch so far. No statements, no cosign, even after Wyden's demands hit Treasury's stonewalling Besson's refused handover 3 times, per Senate finance logs. Pressure's building, though. Chatter from allies like Massey hints at GOP whispers, but nothing concrete. If it tags the NDAA, that could flip a few. Confidence? 60% on potential Paul nod, based on 2 primaries, Congress.gov, Caesar list, Wyden's July 17th floor clip, and 1 anomaly. No GOP replies to Wyden's letter, despite bipartisan Epstein heat. Miss Lou, back to you on that Sword of Damocles take.
I think it was like there was a bill that went through.
She called on Miss Lou Nazi. Jeez.
That's okay. Noxie's a co-host. You can go ahead, Noxie. I'll go after you. I'll go after you, Noxie. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna be long, but there was an Epstein bill that had just gone through the Senate, and then there were 2 Republicans that voted for it, and it was Josh Hawley and Rand Paul.
Yeah, it was an amendment, actually. That was the Schumer amendment. Yeah, we were talking about it last night. Sorry, I was on a call. Yeah, it was the Schumer amendment, and yeah, it was Hawley and Rand Paul. And yeah, there are no Republican co-sponsors, or any co-sponsors for that matter, on the Petra Act.
So then we need to pressure Rand Paul.
Yeah, that right there, man, that says so much. That's my worry, because that is such a key part of all of this. And this is the part that they are going to protect with all their might. Because these are the global bankers, this is our treasury, this is the tags to the laundry money of the CIA. It is all of the evil of that, that's part of the pedophilia, but sort of the other side of the Damocles sword. The whole sword has to go in to take all of this down. That's my point. And thank you for the mic, you guys.
I completely agree with you, Miss Lou, and I think that should be our next press, is maybe to get, since they stood together on this bill, like in the House, to see if we can get Hawley and Rand Paul to sign on to the Petra Act, and then get the support of that with Massey and MTG and Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace over in the House.
It's weird, if you I just Googled Petra Act, and it just, nothing comes up. It's crazy. Like There is no hits. Like it's.
You want to know why? There are 62 specific individuals and entities on this list, right? So the records described in the bill are all suspicious activity reports, which we mentioned, are SARs, related to Epstein and co-conspirators, whether indicted or unindicted, and any other third-party individual or entity that transacted with Epstein, or any entity he owned or controlled, whether directly or through any representative of Jeffrey Epstein. And there are names on here, man. Obviously Maxwell, Epstein, Kahn, Indike, Keller Hall, Southern Trust Bank, Southern Financial, Environmental Solutions Worldwide, Nautilus Incorporated, Jeffrey Epstein Virgin Islands Foundation. Why is that one interesting? Oh, there happens to be a certain congresswoman from the Virgin Islands who just got wrapped up in all of this. Interesting. That one's on the list. Scott Borgenson, J.P. Morgan Chase, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon Corporation, and any subsidiaries of those that I just mentioned. UBS Financial, Wells Fargo, Alpha Bank, Spear Bank, Leon Black is on here. Deborah Black is on here. Black Family Partners Limited Partners is on here. J. Black Trust, Elysium Trust, the Wexners, all of them are on here. Les, Bella, and Abigail and their foundation, they're on here. The Wexner Children's Trust is on here.
Hey, are the Pritzkers on there? Are the Pritzkers on there?
Oh, we're getting there. L Brands is on here. That's formerly Limited Brands. That's the company that the Wexners are most famous for. Dershowitz, Glenn Dubin, Christie's, Sotheby's, Elizabeth Johnson, Johnson & Johnson. Why is that important? The ambassador to the United Kingdom under President Trump in his first term was Woody Johnson, heir to Johnson & Johnson. Barclays, some guy named Peter Thiel, he's on here too. Valor Ventures, Standard Chartered, HSBC, BNB Paribas, Jean-Luc Brunel, which of course, if you're familiar with this case, that's a big name. MC2 Modeling Agency, Citibank, Sarah Cal. Now, to answer your question, Ms. Luton, no, the Pritzkers are not on this list.
So,
but there you go.
Peter Thiel, like, he's gay, correct?
We don't talk about people's. How is that relevant?
Well, because what I'm
discredit my space, bro. This is your last warning.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Greg. Go ahead.
Hey guys, can you hear me well, or is there echo?
Yes, sir.
There's an echo.
Hold on, I'll get rid of the echo. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the ultimate fulcrum between the elites and the people, right? Since I was growing up, I saw a lot of the wars happening and, talking about weapons of mass destruction. And even before I was born, we had Laos, you had Nicaragua, the Contra, everything secret, every war, every bombing, not told to the American people, only later revealed, and always as like mistakes were made, like why we went into Libya. Oh, the French were, later we find out like, oh, this is why. So like here, we have two kinds of conceptions of a democratic country. One is the people. Some like to call it the mob rule or whatever, but the people want to know what the heck is going on. The Pentagon can't account for $35 trillion over the years, never passed an audit, yet we give them more money. So to me, I'm thinking that like this thing, if it blows open, is going to implicate what? It is going to implicate a lot of the compromise that different intelligence agencies, including CIA, have on people. But also it's going to implicate a lot of the dark funds and money that's, sloshing around and where it goes, and the webs of politicians. To me, this whole pedophilia thing is a minor thing. I don't, maybe for some people it's an emotional thing. I mean, Pete Diddy had allegedly pedophilic stuff too. But to me, it's more about which institutions, what is going on behind the scenes. And what I've seen over the years is this is structural. This happens not just in the United States, right? It happens in Pakistan with the ISI, where they arrested their own president because he exposed secret cables against himself. Apparently that's illegal there, and he went to jail. And it's like, democracy is subverted way more in those other countries, by the way, than it is here. So I am interested, when the truth comes to light, of these two competing narratives. One narrative is, look, we've got these structural columns, these load-bearing columns, institutional things. where you can't just destroy them because you're going to plunge the country into chaos. The banks, everything is going to lose public confidence and all this stuff. And I can understand them because you don't want chaos. But on the other hand, if they are going to be so secretive and they want to know where we spend $600 to each other so they can get taxes, right? They want to know who might be a terrorist, but they will not tell you how they spend trillions of dollars and what they're doing. Then at some point, issues come to a head. And so I don't know, I'm just a guy observing it, but I'm curious to see what would happen when these two conceptions of democracy and stability come into contact. I don't know if it will be stability after this. What do you all think?
If the glue that holds us together is the raping and trafficking of minors, then let this motherfucker burn, right? If the government is held together by trafficking and rape of children, then it doesn't deserve to be a government. It's time for something new. That's what I think. Let's go to Timmy. Go ahead.
Oh,
Hey guys, I wanted to build on what Maine was actually pointing out. Woody Johnson, Johnson Management Company is his family investment office. There's a revolving door between his personal family investment office, the Johnson Family Foundation, and Harvard Management. He's also an owner of the New York Jets. In addition
Don't remind
to
me,
that,
I'm a Jets fan. Don't remind me.
in addition to that, though, Johnson & Johnson's largest shareholders just so happen to be the LDS Church, who have been advocates of vaccinating everybody and being global citizens and Zionists. In addition to that, Peter Thiel, who is of the transhumanist, is actually him and Bill Gates, and I put the receipts in here, are of noble royal Mormon blood. They go back all the way to the founders. And Bill Gates, who we all know was into the vaccines, his grandmother was one of the founders of IBM. IBM started as a genealogical computer system to literally monitor our genes and genealogy. And the Mormon Church is very, very focused on tracing bloodlines all the way to Jesus Christ is where they think that they come from. And they are funding church planting, which is church planting is using private equity.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds away from Epstein.
Okay, what I'm getting at, though, is Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, are both advocates of the transhumanist stuff, and it's going wild with what they're doing right now. And then I tagged you earlier, I was in a space that Bill Ackman's using. This motherfucker is going on a PR campaign now, trying to be the guy giving romantic advice, while he's also pushing for the public, the privatization of Fannie and Freddie. And if we all recall, what was the solution to affordable housing? 50-year mortgages,
Epstein,
which literally...
Epstein.
Oh, sorry. These guys all connect to Epstein. These guys are all the names in the Epstein list, everyone that I'm talking about right now. Literally, they all connect to Epstein. Transhumanism, the mortgages, which was the vehicles. Remember the offshore fund? I'm forgetting the name of it. Liquid funding was Epstein's offshore
Palantir's
vehicle.
getting into Fannie Mae as well.
This is candidate Abu Ghazala.
Palantir?
No, Palantir wouldn't, but Thiel would with his personal
No, I
investment.
think Palantir is integrating into the loans.
I'm going to go
AI,
one better
the
on
software?
everybody.
Yeah.
Listen, James Watson, the discoverer of DNA and CRISPR, was Epstein's best buddy. He went to the...
Well, that's IBM Watson.
Yeah,
He's
he's all tied in. Epstein was all tied into the leading AI, science, genomics. Like he was in all of that. He was into everything, right? He launched Carbine 911 with Ehud Barak, which is in our emergency response software, right? Like the dude had his hands in everything. That's why they're fighting so hard to protect it. Literally, if you live in one of 24 states right now in the USA, if you call 911, you are using Epstein software to make that 911 call, right? And there is a chance that the software is collecting spyware on you for whatever reason, because it can access your camera, your geolocation, your Wi-Fi network, your text messages, your messaging apps, and your phone calls, and your microphone, all without even any kind of user approval, right? It can do it automatically. So just something that.
So let me build on the Epstein too. That you're 100% spot on. But so IBM Watson is one of the originations. Bill Gates' mother was involved with IBM Watson, which is the healthcare stuff. Now let's go to COVID. All of those nasal swabs that we did, let's think that that could potentially, and it actually has been proven, those were the perfect DNA tests to get the genomes. That was like the only way to get the precise genomes through the nasal swabs. I'm forgetting how to break it down, the XY chromosomes. But
by the way, Senator Rand Paul is your senator. Please, I put a post up in the Jumbotron demanding that he co-sponsor the Petra Act and to call to action for him to sponsor the Petra Act and get that going before we run out of time. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so the genomes, that was the only way to get it with the nasal swabs. They've been tracking our genealogical records since day one. They have.
That's not true. Buckle swabs. I'm sorry. I just can't listen to you.
Hang on. Correct me in a
I don't
second.
want to argue about this. Come on.
Correct me in 1 second. Let me just land real quick, and then please correct me where I'm saying some things wrong, because I'm not scientific. So I'll happily hand it over. In addition to that, the reason why I'm getting at the church planting too is the church planting allows them to create missions. Then they're able to go to places like Haiti and Mexico and do child trafficking through like the orphanages, the Save the Child causes, all with opaque, dark money. And then that also connects to Warren Buffett with the Boys Town, Nebraska, one of the worst child trafficking and child molestation places ever, the biggest orphanage in Nebraska. So they're in this, they're sick as shit, and it seems like even doing some of the pedophilia is basically a way to create Manchurian candidates.
Go ahead, Tana.
So, Ron Wyden, I have a few reservations about him, man. He's a dual citizen of Israel.
Yeah, nope, I'm out. Not listening to this. I'm sorry, Ken. I love you, but I'm not listening to the Jewish angle. I'm out.
It's about Ron, but I do hope it goes through. I hope that Petra is attached, that all of it comes out. But I'm in Washington. I'm very aware of Ron Wyden, and I don't have a lot of.
Who cares about the senators? We care about the legislation and the action, right? Like these ad hominem attacks to try to end, right? Like it's more of that partisan or that ideological BS I'm not going to buy into anymore. These people, all of them, regardless if they're dual citizens, regardless if they are Democrats or Republicans, they work for us, right? We are paying them. It doesn't matter. They work at the federal level. That means if you are a tax-paying citizen of the United States, they represent you, right? So we will use every single advantage that we have. Doesn't matter how shitty the hand is, how shitty the card is, we are going to play it if it suits our advantage, right? So if he's going to put forward legislation that's going to pressure make the Treasury release Epstein information, Epstein files, then we back it, regardless of who he is. When it comes to re-elect Wyden, then by all means, shit all over him for his affiliations. But then we extract every fucking victory that we can get. Thank you. Let's go to Patrick.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I had my Bluetooth.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting a TikTok. All right. Former CEO of Mercy Corps, I kind of talked about that before. Why do I want to talk about that, Wyden the files, and I'll be brief. Well, I've been calling Ron Wyden's office because I know Ron. I've known him since I worked with the granddaughter, Jason Penny, Alyssa Kinnegeyer, many years ago. And I've been talking about Mercy Corps, the world's largest humanitarian group in the world. And Mercy Corps, pretty much, if you don't know anything about them, a couple years ago, came out in the news that my mentors, McKenna Geyer, my state representative, and her husband, the CEO of Mercy Corps, covered up the fact that Ellsworth Culver, their friend, dead friend, and former CEO, had been raping his wife, his daughter.
And this is going to come back to Epstein.
Yes, absolutely. So I have been saying for years to Ron Wyden's office and others, hey, I'm pretty sure my mentors, Neil Kennegeyer and Alyssa Kennegeyer, are heavily connected to Epstein through the founding of the Clinton 12 Initiative, which you're a part of. And so Mercy Corps is connected with so much things. They're like equally bad as Epstein. I reached out to Virginia Roberts about this years ago, and that's how I knew her. She died the day Mercy Corps, 5 years later, this spring, she died the day Mercy Corps announced it was selling their headquarters. Thank God for Doge. But what am I talking about with regards to Ron Wyden, the Mercy Corps connection, and why all this makes sense? Well, the other day I searched on that, there was like a journalist site, I forget the name of the site, that put out that searchable files, the emails from the estate. And that's not all the files, as we know, it's just some from the estate. So I went searching, I looked for Neil Kennegeyer, and his name popped up. It vindicated everything I said from like 10 years before when I had pulled photos off Alyssa Kennegeyer, JCPenney's Facebook, where she got, Rockefellers and Soros and people like that commenting on her photos from Davos. Almost nobody in the world really knows who that lady is because she pretended not to be the granddaughter of JCPenney, just a little state legislator in Oregon. And only those who really knew had access to her Facebook, and if you were in that Facebook, you would see Rockefellers, Soroses, and I screen grabbed all that and downloaded it and alleged for years that Neil Kennegeyer wrote the plan to rip off Haiti inside Davos in 2011 because his wife took the photos and put them on Facebook, which I have. Now, the last thing I'll say is huge vindication for myself and many other people, because anyone who has a piece of the puzzle to this Epstein file, we've been alleging a lot of things for a long time with some information, but to have these searchable databases for people like myself and others to go in, search what they think they know, and boom, there's vindication right there. I already have pieces of this writing the plan to rip off Haiti Russell because I have the photos of Neil Kennegeyer doing it. What I didn't have was the official Davos 2011 guest list. So when the one time Neil Kennegeyer came up in the search results, it was only one time, and I know there's a lot more connections, I do know. But in that email release from the estate, it was interesting. The only time I found Neil Kennegeyer's name was the 2011 Davos list. But I have the photos of him writing the plan to rip off Haiti because his wife was there and took the photos and put them on Facebook. But why was his wife, Alyssa Kennegeyer, who was there and took the photos, why was her name not on the list that just came out from the Epstein estate? Epstein had a list of all the 2011 Davos attendees, but Alyssa Kennegeyer's name was not on the list. So the last thing I'll land this plane here and kick it back over.
Because the attendees, this was brought up for a couple of people, and the reason that was given when I asked, because it wasn't just, I can't predict the other person that we were at, this was, because she wasn't like a key speaker or a notable figure, right? She was a coinciding guest of him, right? That's why she wasn't mentioned. But that, I mean, I'm not saying that was the excuse that I was given.
It makes a lot of sense because, like if you're not the main speaker on the stage, that would make a lot of sense and it tracks. But also, she uses that as well because she's also heavily connected to the Clinton Global Initiative as well as her husband. I believe they're founding members from the old photos I saw on their Facebook, which they deleted when Trump got elected, but they didn't delete the fucking Haiti photos and stuff. So they were sloppy about this. Someone told them delete the photos of you and Hillary and Bill bragging about being founding members of the Clinton Global Initiative. I never understood why Alyssa Kennegeyer deleted those right after Trump got elected, but didn't delete the other ones that were incriminating. It's because somebody probably gave her an order, hey, Trump just got elected, he was threatening something about Epstein in 2015, the primary. We don't know where his crazy train is going to go. Delete some of these photos that connect to you and Hillary and Bill. Because Hillary was in the Clinton Foundation right when Trump got elected, and Neil Kennegeyer was literally quoted.
That foundation